live. Hi, baby bear. So I'm sure many of you are still recovering from the post-summit hangover, but let this little video be your call to action to get back in the groove with posting and all that fun stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and get started now and just let people hop on, and you can rewatch the recording because I'm going to be trying to be as concise as possible. But I love talking about storytelling and why it's so effective, because it's science. Like, our brains are literally hardwired to hear stories, and humans have been doing that for thousands of years. If you actually research it, storytelling activates a part in our brain that makes us the protagonist in the other person's story. We're literally immersing ourselves in that person's story and watching it unfold as ourselves. So it's such an effective tool to connect with people. And I was trying to think of examples. And actually, storytelling is why metaphors are so effective and why I love them so much. But a few years ago, I attended Beachbody's leadership event, and they had a National Geographic speaker, and he was talking about going to Ireland and Scotland and traipsing through the wild flowers and taking pictures. If he just would have posted a PowerPoint presentation of his photographs and said, here's my beautiful work, it would not have been very memorable. But because he was telling the story with such detail, you really felt like you were there with him, traipsing through the forest, flying in a helicopter over these fields. And that is exactly what sticks with you. When the person can place themselves in your story and see the world through your eyes. So if you think about storytelling, it really just boils down to cause and effect. And our brains love to think in that way. We actually crave it. So if anybody has Hulu or Netflix or whatever the other ones are, and you've been binge watched, I know Game of Thrones is back on, so that's like a big one for binge watching. You think about, why do you have to click next episode? Why do you have to see what happens? We literally have this like deep desire to know what happens next, what the cause and effect is. So I was thinking about when I first started as a coach, I had no experience with these crazy home workout scam workout programs. But I posted a day one picture and I said, hey, I'm doing this. This is my goal. I don't know what's going to happen. Check back in 30 days. And believe it or not, in 30 days, people actually asked me what my results were and asked for an updated picture, because our brains need to know what happened. So something very simple like that, just sharing a tidbit, like Shalane was talking about, breadcrumbing that information, making it interesting, creating curiosity. Something as small as that created enough curiosity that people actually followed up with me. Now, you're not going to have a lot of people hunting you down to see what happens in your story, so you have to constantly be getting in front of people and sharing those things along the way, and that's what we're going to talk about. But you guys have probably heard facts tell and stories sell. That's such a simple concept. When it boils down to the actual writing of the story, you might be thinking, well, I'm not very good with words, I'm horrible on video, I can't even string together like anything coherent that makes sense to make this long, masterful story, and that's okay. A story really boils down to 3 components. And I like to give a formula, because when you can plug in the information, then you can say, okay, it's not so bad, and then from there you can continue practicing and getting better. But a story is basically a problem, the journey, and the solution, and that is it. It doesn't have to be more complicated than that. So how do you make that sticky? I've talked about making sticky posts before. How do you make a story using those 3 components that sticks with someone, that resonates with someone, that builds that connection? A sticky post is just something like I was saying earlier with that presentation with the National Geographic photographer, where somebody can see themselves in that story. They can relate to it. So you have to think back to your days before Beachbody, or a current issue that you're going through. So it doesn't have to be all fitness or financially related. I posted about going through a breakup before. I posted about Winston's eye surgery before, going through kind of the thick of it, and then as that progressed, what happened. So think about, what are those things, that the journeys and trials that you've gone through. Maybe you hated your job before and now you don't. Now you have hope. Maybe you were overweight before and now you're not. Maybe you were stressed out before and dealt with anxiety, but now through exercise it's helped calm that down. So think about those things in your life that you found a solution for, and then you'll be able to share them in a way that's sticky and can, like, when somebody is scrolling through the newsfeed, they're like, oh my gosh, I feel like she's talking to me. I feel like I'm in the spot that she was 2 years ago before she discovered exercise. So the most effective stories are the ones that start in your reader's head and not yours. So think it's so important to kind of get back in that mindset of where you were when you were looking for a solution. What were the keywords that stood out to you in someone's post? What did your coach post about that made it click, where you're like, oh my gosh, I need to do that? I want you to remember that moment when you had that realization, like, oh, Beachbody could be the solution. And you're going to create, I'm going to have an assignment at the end to craft a post around that. But your stories are the thing that set you apart. They're the thing that make somebody say, okay, I'm in the right place. Like, I relate to this girl. I know exactly what she's talking about. I feel like she just gets me. And I know Shalene talked a lot about, you know, curiosity marketing versus attraction marketing. I feel like her presentation, if you guys watch that video, there's room for both. You know, in your stories, in your attraction marketing, you're doing it in a way that you're not laying it all out on the table. You're not using the Beachbody buzzwords like Shift Shop and PIO and P90X. You're using terminology that you used before Beachbody. That's such an important part of storytelling, but also infusing your personality. So the one thing I know a lot of you guys mentioned that was a takeaway from her presentation was borrowed words are for the birds. Personality is that thing in the story where it just like that magnetic force. So I just noticed actually today that Lindsay posted a story, Bonnie posted a story about turning 30 and having financial freedom. She didn't borrow words. She took her own experience and her problem, her journey, her solution, and compiled that in a message that wasn't over the top Beachbody. It wasn't, here's what you should do, you have to listen to me, pointing her finger at somebody. It was simply sharing something that happened in her life that now she can use to resonate with other people. So personality is kind of that life of the party magnetic force that people are attracted to, and that's what you want to get to in your story, a place where you feel like, okay, this is exactly how I talk in real life. I'm not making this super formal. I'm not adding a bunch of words that I don't use. I'm not busting out the thesaurus, I can never say that word, to come up with a bunch of stuff that, you know, makes it sound all flowery. I'm just talking real, the way that I would talk to my best friend sitting right next to me. So the posts that don't have personality, those are the ones that we simply scroll past. You can tell pretty instantly if somebody is borrowing a formula for a challenge group post, or maybe somebody had a really great idea for sharing their financial success and you're like, oh, let me just plug in my story. The problem with that is people can tell there's like an underlying current within that post that it doesn't quite click, it doesn't quite resonate, it doesn't quite feel right, and they don't know why. Sorry, Winston is over there crying to get let out. They don't know why, but it just doesn't, you know, make the slam dunk. So I lost my train of thought because he's so cute. So what I was going to say is, what do you do if you feel like it's all been said before? Maybe you are thinking of this really great post idea and then you see a top coach post it, or you're like, wow, like I really want to talk about mental health issues or anxiety, I really want to talk about eating disorders, I really want to talk about meal prep, but here's this coach who said it way better, they had a prettier picture, they said it way more authentically than I feel like I can ever say. Then what do? This is the moment, this is the defining moment that separates successful coaches from unsuccessful coaches. Not because one is more educated or a better wordsmith or more articulate than the other, it's because one person has taken action and the other person lets their courage and confidence curl up into a ball and they don't take action. So I wanted to illustrate, why it doesn't have to be brand new, it just has to be you with a little story. So, you know when somebody can tell you something, like your mom can tell you something over and over and over again, but it doesn't click, or your significant other can tell you the same thing, like, oh, you should do this, and you just don't listen. For a while, Rich has been telling me that we need to get some help organizing, to have somebody just come in and help us put all of our stuff away, organize the kitchen because I'm not a chef, so I don't put things away in the way that makes sense. I just put it in drawers and then hope to find it later. So he's been saying that for like a long time, and I keep saying, no, we can do it. Like, I'm not paying somebody to organize my stuff because I need to know where it is. Well, then at Summit, Dara said, oh my gosh, you know what? You guys should hire my friend who's a professional organizer so you don't have to do it while you're pregnant, and she actually is really great at making things make sense. And when she said that, I was like, oh my gosh, we totally should. And then I remembered that Rich has been saying that forever, and it was like, okay, just something little that somebody else said in a different way that suddenly made me want to step into action. It's the same way with Beachbody. Somebody could be talking about weight loss, somebody could be talking about doing a fitness program, and the way that they say it, it just doesn't click with that person, and then you can come along with your post, and maybe it's not perfectly worded the way that you want, maybe it's not perfectly laid out according to the formula, but you're simply getting out there, taking action, firing away, taking those steps, and it clicks with them. So that is the goal. So you have the power to create connection with people, and that doesn't mean you have to be like Chalene Johnson and impact tens of thousands of people. You start with one person, and as you get experience, you take action and you feel better about your storytelling, or maybe you tweak something the next time. Then you're gonna get 2 people and 3 people, and then in a year you might have 50 people commenting on your post. But unless you start tweaking and working on your formula and practicing, you're never gonna get any better at the skill. So storytelling, some people are really naturally good at it. I always tell Lindsay she's a wordsmith, and she has this really beautiful natural talent at crafting posts that make people feel like, you know, like, wow, I feel like I'm part of her story, or I really can connect with how she feels. But she still works at it. Everybody still works at it. So the goal is start at step 1 and then continue to get better and better. You want people to come to your page and think, oh my gosh, where have you been all my life? Like, here's my money. Give me the solution that you're talking about. So now that you have a little bit of a formula, I want you to move your fingertips, move your feet, take action. I have a couple, I wrote down a couple of things down here for you guys. First of all, just like a fun little post, like share a story of something that has been repeatedly told to you, and then somebody else said it, and it all of a sudden clicks, because I always love to hear those. They're funny. The second thing is, what attracted you to being a coach? What was the story that, I don't want to say hooked you, but what was the story that made you realize that this was something, a solution that you needed in your life? And then the third thing, you don't have to post in the group, but post on your wall, is to use that 3-part formula, problem, journey, solution, to craft a post on your Facebook page sharing some element of your story. That could be, your house was a mess and now it's not. Your dog was bad and now he's not. Like, whatever that looks like, you know, get practice, Beachbody related or not. Obviously better if you're working toward your business, but I'm all about using baby steps to summon our courage. If you feel like you're low on courage right now, then you need to get together with other coaches. You need to post in this thread down below and say, hey, I'm not feeling very confident about this. Who can I brainstorm with? Who can I connect with so that I can get some ideas flowing? Because sometimes talking it out is the best thing you can do. I can't even tell you how many times I've called or texted or messaged another coach and said, hey, just like, help me get this out of my head. They don't even need to say anything back, and then you've figured out the solution in your head and said, okay, I know how I'm gonna word this, I got this. So get together with your teammates. Everybody that's in this recruitment surge is here for a reason. So you're in great company. Now it's just about moving your fingertips and getting to action. All right, guys, if I missed anything, I'll post it in the comments below. I'm sweating. I came outside because I thought it'd be nice and peaceful. It is like sweltering out here, so this baby needs some water. But if you have any questions, you know where to put them.